Councilwoman Ashcraft.
Thank you.
I should say one of the overriding. I'm sorry, I forgot to mention that.
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry about that, Heidi. One of the overriding concerns, I think, and what I've heard since our original meeting is the security concerns. We did spend a lot of money a number of years ago to improve security down there, and with non-aviation uses, who knows what you're going to get being stored in those hangars there.
Okay, I think he's finished now.
Now?
Yeah.
Thank you. Well, on the opposite side of that, I'd like to pursue a little bit of the non-aviation related items, because I'm understanding the smaller hangars, that's what a lot of them are being used for, which is against what we have written up, the way to use them. I would like to pursue learning more about that, the smaller hangars, and that people are using, because the fees that we are charging are much cheaper than using a storage unit, and that's why people are doing that. So to me, because they're not putting any airplanes in those smaller ones, I would really be interested in seeing that, because that's craziness to me that we've got storage going on, which is number one, against what we have for rules. Number two, it's much cheaper than a storage unit. So I'm on the other hand for looking into that and possibly keeping it. Thank you.
Anybody else? I kind of agree. I fully agree with Councilmember Ashcraft. I think we should look at those hangars down there, and if they're not being used for aircraft purposes, then perhaps they can carry over and start paying a different rate because it's not an aircraft. I know we've had games down there over the years where the locks were missing, or there was double locks. They couldn't find the combination. Councilwoman Ashcraft was, on the council, and remember going through that. And then finally, there was a subtle confession made. Well, maybe it isn't airplanes in there, and maybe it was luxury automobiles kept in a hangar. So at a much cheaper than they would be paying someplace where they store luxury automobiles. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just have one more comment. When you talked about luxury automobiles, which it could be, or it could be, if we look into this, and I was speaking to our attorneys as well as Mr. Megadichian, it requires different insurance. And as a city, if those things are going on and something happens, we could be liable. So we need to step up the insurance for this kind of stuff if it's going to be happening. And so it's a whole ball of wax there that needs to be dealt with. Thank you.
Councilman Tucci.
Thank you, Mayor. The airport landing fees, that's something that I do agree, something that we probably don't even need to bring back, because I quite honestly, it would be a waste of staff time. I think there's some common sense that starts clicking in, which is, the businesses that we have down there, Robinson Helicopters, the training facilities, those are all businesses that we need to try to retain. As far as the non-aviation storage, I have maybe a different take on this. If we have non-aviation tenants, that means that there's no planes in there, right? They're not using it to store planes. So no plane means less airplane traffic, which is something that the neighbors might actually like. However, I do think that we need to keep aviation tenants on a separate list, as a priority list. So if there is a waiting list for whatever reason, let's say we're at 100% capacity, I think aviation tenants should have priority to getting them. But I don't think it's fair to charge more to non-aviation tenants, because after all, we want to be able to keep that place at 100% at all times. Any kind of vacancy is 100% loss. So I mean, I know this is not necessarily the time to discuss this, but I would definitely not support any kind of fees for landing fees. And I also think that the rents should be staying the same and aviation tenants be put on a priority list versus, if it gets down to the point where it's a waiting list. And as far as the item 2, which is program modifications to city manager's office and police department, especially for the police department, I really do think that incentives do work. I just don't want to get it. I don't want to get caught up into Santa Monica does this, so we have to go a little bit higher. Inglewood does that, and Hawthorne does this, and we start comparing all these other cities that just blow money, burn through money like a wildfire. So we do have to take a conservative approach. We've asked all departments to cut 15% of their budget. The last thing we want to do is start, blowing, through money like that. But I think the incentives work. I think we have the best of the best, and we should always continue to strive for that. I would also like for us to put the police department on a completely different category when it comes to restoring their budget, because right now we're down, I believe, 20 some odd foreign officers, of which the remaining, quite a bit of them are working mainly from the station. They're not on patrol. So we've really had a big decrease in patrol bodies. So we definitely want to be able to restore that, especially with the surrounding cities cutting back on their law enforcement, whether it's through the Sheriff's Department or LAPD, knocking off $150 million off their budget. We're going to see an increase in crime. And the last thing I want to do is follow the footsteps of City of Los Angeles or the County of Los Angeles with their cutbacks on law enforcement. So I think Torrance really does need to gear up with our law enforcement and make sure that we make that a priority. Safety in the city has always been historically one of our shining features. So let's try to keep it that way. But I'm definitely in favor. I don't know if we need a motion on this or if we're ready for a motion, but I'm willing to make a motion on this tonight.
Is there any further discussion? If not, we're taking a motion.
All right. Then I'd like to move that we accept and file fiscal year 2020-2021 first quarter budget review report, and also approve the program modifications for the city manager's office and police department.
Mayor, this is Aram. Before you vote, would you like us to follow up on the airport fees for the use of the hangars, be back at the commission and come back to council as a follow-up?
Yeah, I think it's fair. It's fair that we continue to discuss it, just because I don't know, unless we have. I don't think we have full concurrence on this. So I think we can bring it back and discuss it at that point. But I think it's only fair that we do bring it back.
We can vet it at the commission level and bring it back to council for full consideration.
Sure.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Councilman Ashcraft, were you seconding?
Yes, I would second Mr. Matucci's motion.
Roll call vote. Councilmember Matucci?
Yes.
Councilmember Ashcraft?
Yes.
Councilmember Chen?
Yes.
Councilmember Goodrich?
Aye.
Councilmember Griffiths?
Yes.
Councilmember Kalani?
Yes.
Mayor Fury?
Yes.
Your Honor, that motion carried unanimously.
Thank you. We're now moving on to item 9C, which is from the Employee Relations and Public Safety Committee, to discuss and provide direction on emergency medical services transportation program. Councilmember Kalani.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor and fellow council members, good evening. The Employee Relations and Public Safety Committee met on Monday, October 26, 2020, to receive a presentation from Fire Chief Martin Cerna and the EMS Assistant Chief Alec Miller on the proposed EMS transportation program. The Torrance Fire Department was requested to develop budget reduction scenarios for fiscal year 2020 and 2021. The reduction is 4.9% or $2.4 million of the total department budget. Recognizing any reduction would have an adverse impact on service, the Fire Command staff proposed a new model for EMS transport. The Employee Relations and Public Safety Committee approved that the item be brought forward to City Council for discussion and direction to the Fire Department on the development and implementation of a city EMS transportation program. I will now ask Chief Cerna to expand on the proposed program with a presentation on the proposed EMS transportation program. Chief Cerna?
Thank you, Council Member Kailani. Good evening, Mayor, Council members. This is Martin Cerna, the Fire Chief. This evening, we are seeking approval from your honorable body to develop a city EMS transportation ambulance program. We would like to apologize to the committee before we begin. The item reflected that the proposal was approved at the committee level, which was not accurate. What was approved by the committee was to bring the item forward to this honorable body for forward discussion and approval for the entire council. Before we move forward with our presentation, you can go to the next slide, Chief Miller. I would like to provide some clarity on some statements I shared with the community when I was appointed to the position of Fire Chief. Many community members, after my appointment, wanted to know my thoughts with the current private ambulance provider, McCormick Ambulance. More importantly, they wanted to know my thoughts on the TFD, Torrance Fire Department, implementing our own ambulance program. What I shared was that was not my plan, and in fact, we have, and I shared this, continue to have a strong public and private partnership with McCormick. They have met the obligations of the contract each year since we have contracted the services to McCormick. TFD requested to add this service for our community, not at a discredit to their services, but an opportunity to enhance our service model. During this period, I also shared with the community my number one priority and commitment as their fire chief was to truly listen to what services they want from their fire department. This is an incredibly important point as public servants. In 2017, we heard from the community during our fire department's strategic plan workshop. We heard and received a wide range of goals, concepts, and concerns from a very diverse group of stakeholders. The feedback we received provided a clear guide for the TFD. In 2018, we presented the Torrance Fire Department strategic plan along with our standards of coverage documents to your honorable body. The community-based strategic plan has and will continue to serve as our compass as we navigate into the future. This plan is a living document and is reviewed annually to ensure our course direction is in alignment with the current environment. A good example of that is in 2017, we were not dealing with a pandemic or COVID-19 or an economy that is and will continue to face challenges as we move into the future. Which brings me to our current proposal. As noted during our budget update, our current budget is facing some challenges. With these potential challenges, our city manager requested each department to develop budget reduction scenarios. With a large portion of our budget assigned to salaries, the options we explored required staff reductions, modifications to our service capability. Assistant Chief Kevin Milliken will provide a broad overview of some of those impacts to our effective response force. The other option we explored and what we are proposing to your honorable body this evening allows us to address the budget reduction scenario not only allows us to address the budget reduction, but provides us an opportunity to enhance our current emergency services for our community. The proposal provides many positive opportunities that are highlighted on this current slide. We also recognize there will be adjustments that will require us to be agile and adjust along the way to ensure the service program is successful. With that in mind, we are planning a phased-in approach that will be methodical in nature to ensure we are closing gaps as we move forward into the future. We plan and will provide status updates to the Employee Relations and Public Safety Committee on a regular basis. At this time, I would like to turn the presentation over to Assistant Chief Kevin Milliken.
Thank you, Chief Cerna. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
Hey, good evening. This is Assistant Chief Kevin Milliken with the Fire Department's Planning Division. And before we present the specifics of the proposed BLS transport plan, I'd like to briefly share an alternate deployment model that was analyzed by TFD staff. As a reminder, as Chief Cerna stated, in 2019, Torrance Fire Department became an accredited agency with the Center for Public Safety Excellence, with truly the focus on continuous improvement. With that, we developed a strategic plan with the internal and external stakeholder input, and you can see some of the goals that were developed on this slide. We're confident that what we're presenting tonight is in alignment with our strategic plan goals and is adaptable to the emerging needs of our city. Next slide, please. Thank you. In order to address the budgetary impacts of the COVID crisis, the alternative to implementing a BLS transport program, which can provide service and generate funds, would be the reduction of on-duty staffing to cover the financial gap. And this would have an impact on the service that we provide. Torrance Fire Department is fortunate to work with Deccan as a vendor for analytic software that can measure that impact. And what it allows us to answer is a couple of questions. Number one, the what is, which measures past performance. And second, the what if, which is our predictive modeling. And that tells us what the changes and what the impact would be if we change our service model. Next slide. Currently, we staff our apparatus with 46 operations personnel per day. We would need to have a net decrease of 7 personnel per day in order to meet the budgetary gap. This decrease in personnel would have an impact on our service, and we can quantify that effect with the Deccan Analytics software. Next slide. We spoke to the strategic plan, and we know that the top 2 community expectations of the fire department are quick response and having well-trained professional personnel. And we use the Deccan software to analyze this alternative or the alternative deployment model with these expectations in mind. And this time we'd like to share a map that allows us to show you that impact on a visual nature. What you're looking at is a map that measures our compliance to our ERF, or Effective Response Force time target. The ERF is the number of personnel it will take to complete certain critical tasks on the fire ground. As you can see, we have the city boundary outlined in our station locations. The color coding, dark green, is the best compliance to meeting that time target for getting that effective response force on scene. The lighter shades of green moving to yellow and orange would be a decrease in our compliance to that target. What you're looking at this moment is what our current deployment model would show and what our current performance is. And if we take the slider, we're going to move it from the right to the left. You can see the change in color to the lighter shades, and that visually shows what that decrease in our performance is. Most of the changes that you see are at the edges of the city and in our planning zone 97, which is just to south and east of that Station 1 area. This, to quantify it for the city as a whole, we would see a 4% decrease in compliance to our time target. And while it doesn't sound like a large percentage, when we worked with our the analytics software, a 1 to 2% change would be considered a noticeable change in service deployment. And if you look at 10%, that'd be drastic. So 4%, we would definitely see a noticeable change, and it makes sense. Essentially, the fewer firefighters that we have on duty, the longer it takes us to get the required number of that effective response force on scene, as well as there would be impacts to how long it would take to complete those critical tasks once we're there. Now that we've been able to share a little bit of what the alternative model and the impacts to our service would be, I'd like to turn the presentation over to Assistant Chief Miller and let him outline the proposed BLS transport plan and why we feel that it is the best solution to not only meet the city's financial needs, but is also in alignment with our strategic plan goals and our emphasis on continuous improvement. Chief Miller?
Thank you, Chief Milliken. Can you hear me okay?
Can, sir.
All right. This is Assistant Chief Alec Miller. Tonight I'll be presenting the proposed ambulance transport model. Bringing ambulance transport in-house is a common concept. Listed on the screen are many of the fire agencies that are currently successful with an in-house transportation program. 22 of the 28 agencies in Los Angeles County, the fire agencies, have moved to an in-house transportation model. We collaborated with many of these departments when we were developing our plan to implement a transportation model. We also collaborated with several departments in Orange County who've been running very successful models for many years. Currently, the city contracts with McCormick Ambulance for patient transport. We're in the process of extending that contract so we have uninterrupted transport during the implementation of this program and to ensure we have surge protection in place. McCormick currently is obligated to dedicate 5 ambulances to Torrance on a daily basis. McCormick retains the BLS fees and passes the ALS fees collected to Torrance Fire. We performed a feasibility study to determine any infrastructure needs, options to acquire ambulances, supplies and equipment needs, and third-party billing. We are well positioned with our current infrastructure. We have 6 strategically located fire stations with accommodations to house the BLS ambulances and the crew members. Our public safety dispatch center can easily integrate the additional units into their response plans. Our EMS supply system can be enhanced to maintain the supplies required, and the office space for EMS division has been expanded with the acquisition and build-out of the 1720 and 1724 date properties. A municipal lease will be utilized to purchase the 8 ambulances. This type of lease is designed to provide essential government assets while reducing startup costs. The first payment will be deferred until the end of the first year, giving us time to collect transport fees and set aside the annual payment. Historically low interest rates and ownership of the ambulances at the end of the 7 payments make this a very attractive option. As discussed, the existing supply system will be enhanced. We propose to implement an equipment replacement fund to allocate money to replace equipment such as heart monitors. The BLS units will be added to our current CAD system so we can monitor and move units in real time to fill coverage gaps. We recently established an RFP for EMS billing. 9 reputable companies submitted proposals, and we are ready to post the notification of award. Torrance citizens will see no discernible change to a bill other than the change from one company to the next. This is the how. Deploying ambulances, staffing with EMTs, and implementing a robust loss prevention program. Torrance will deploy 5 BLS ambulances staffed with EMTs and 3 ALS ambulances staffed with our existing firefighter paramedics. The ALS ambulances will continue to provide the ability to scoop and run on critical and time-sensitive calls. 3 of the BLS ambulances will be staffed 24 hours a day. The other 2 BLS ambulances will be staffed 8 hours a day during peak call times. Surge protection will be provided through a contract with McCormick Ambulance. We also have mutual aid contracts with other Area G cities and with LA City Fire Department in case of a multi-casualty incident. There will be an open and continuous recruitment for this position. The fire ambulance operator will be an extension of the current cadet position within the Grow Our Own program. This position will be a full-time position. We will primarily recruit from the Grow Our Own program as well as local resources such as SoCal Rock. The minimum requirements for the fire ambulance operator are 18 years of age, a valid California driver's license, and an LA County accredited EMT. A CPAT or BIDL, which are standardized physical abilities tests, will be required as well. A basic medical examination will be part of the onboarding process. We have developed a detailed initial and continuing training program for the ambulance operators. This consists of a 40-hour training academy, 4 24-hour ride-along training shifts, and a 6-month task book, similar to other positions on the fire department. We will lease purchase 8 new ambulances that come with manufacturer warranties. We've had conversations with fleet services to determine the needs for in-house preventative maintenance. Included in the cost of the apparatus are the power cots and the power loading system for the cots. A 7-year maintenance plan is also included for the cots and the power loaders. Our current EMS supply system will be enhanced to outfit and maintain the supplies on the ambulances. LA County EMS publishes a minimum inventory for EMS supplies and equipment that we will adhere to. Every ambulance operator will be issued personal protective equipment for EMS calls, traffic accidents, and specialized events, including ballistic helmets and vests. Per the committee's request, Torrance Fire followed up with the City Attorney's Office and the Finance Department to determine the potential for increased liability with the establishment of this program. The Finance Department, based on industry experience with agency transport, reported increased exposure of liability claims with an estimated range of $115,000 to $172,000, and an increase to a policy premium of $25,000 to $50,000 annually, and an increase to workers' comp claims and a policy premium estimated around $75,000 to $85,000 annually. Costs noted will be mitigated with a robust loss prevention program to include formal EMS safety training program, EMS certifications, safety equipment, and a vehicle accident prevention training program. The TFD research like departments with similar call volume, demographics, and similar loss prevention training programs, and they reported claims payouts of $4,300 annually. Finance Department will increase existing liability insurance to offset the additional liability. I'm now going to turn the presentation over to Captain Baker, and he will discuss the financial aspects of the transportation program. Captain Baker, you have
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, can hear you loud and clear.
Great. Good evening, Council. Startup costs for new ventures are usually disparate from ongoing costs. EMS transport is no different. The details provided in the Council items on pages 4 and 5 are summarized on this slide. As you know, we plan on a phased-in implementation which will allow us to make adjustments before a complete rollout. We'll also have the advantage of leveraging existing TFD ambulances while we wait for a new fleet to arrive. That said, we anticipate total first-year costs to be approximately $1.2 million. However, we will also simultaneously begin to bill transported patients with anticipated first-year revenue of $2.8 million. We can anticipate net cost recovery of over $1 million in the first year. This number is including all operating expenses and loss of pass-through revenue that we receive from our current transport provider. Of course, cost recovery is not immediate, which is why we're allocating approximately $600,000 of seed money to cover startup costs. These funds will be transferred from existing fire department fees to be paid back within the first 2 years of this transport project. Looking at recurring operational costs, we anticipate annual ongoing costs of $2.8 million, with total cost recovery of just under $2.4 million. Again, this cost recovery figure is including all operating expenses and loss of pass-through revenue. These dollars will be allocated to bridge the budget gap that we are currently experiencing within the fire department. The story behind the numbers is usually more informative than the numbers themselves. To calculate the value of a medical transport model, we utilize two independent auditors, our internal administrative analyst and an experienced company that specializes in EMS billing throughout Southern California. Both estimators use slightly different methodologies, but came back to us with similar results. What we're presenting today are the more conservative of those two estimates. As you can see on the rows labeled grand total, we are expecting approximately $6.5 million in projected gross revenue. We feel confident in the accuracy of this projection due to Torrance's steady nature of calls for service and a long-established payer mix within the city. For further confirmation, we've interfaced with several fire agencies of similar size who have transported 911 patients for many years, as well as the company who would be awarded the billing contract. All parties have confirmed the feasibility of a project of this nature. There are some caveats. These figures do not consider the additional revenue expected from intergovernmental transfers. Also, take note that we are including the estimated value of treat, no transport, and first responder fees. These fees will require council approval on a separate item. At this time, I'd like to turn to Chief Cerna to conclude the presentation.
Thank you, Captain Baker. In closing, we are seeking approval to develop and implement an EMS transportation program. We recognize there will be challenges, but I can assure you that the agility of our organization will ensure we have a premier program. A program that has an opportunity to expand our service capability as opposed to reducing. At this time, this concludes our presentation. Staff is now available to answer any questions.
Thank you, Chief. Really, excuse me, a great presentation. Something I've always said that the progressive nature of you and your command staff has really amazed me how quickly we are moving into the 21st century here 20 years later. But the fire services for years and years and years is a lot slower to get into progressive firefighting and in this case, emergency medical treatment, emergency medical services. I know a fire, you never know what time a fire can occur. But the data that you do on your medical runs is something that is really palatable, something you can look at and actually estimate when they're going to happen or when the peaks. And I think taking that data into effect is, really important to come up with the manpower as well as the equipment and to provide the services that our community not only deserves but they demand. So I'm sure some of my colleagues have a question or three. Looking for a hand. Councilmember Ashcraft.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation, and I also thank you for the binder we got today, but I haven't even been able to read past page 1. I haven't had time. So I'm lacking in being able to enjoy or read the binder that we did receive. I have a quick question, maybe not quick. On page 2 of our agenda item, when it talks about startup costs, the part of funding you're counting on is money that was allocated to the Emergency Operations Center. And my question maybe is to our city manager. If the funds were allocated to that, I don't know if I don't remember if I was on council before when this was talked about. Were the funds voted on by the council to go to this purpose? And if so, does council need to vote separately on these funds that were allocated to an EOC and now are just going to go to a different use?
Thank you, Councilwoman Adam Shaparian. Yes, Council did approve the EOC capital project. We recently completed the design phase. However, we have not gone to construction. In the midst of this project, we also realized with our reliance on a virtual emergency operations center environment, such as utilizing Slack because we can't meet in a physical EOC, we saw an opportunity to revisit the concept on the broader level, which will come back to council for direction. All we're asking here is ability to borrow against the EOC capital project. The intent is that we will be able to repay as the program is implemented and we start receiving revenue. So we are not, in essence, we're asking, as part of the approval of the BLS transport model, is the component of utilizing one-time monies from the capital project with the intent that it'll be replenished. Now, second part, as far as what the EOC will look like in the future, we'll come back for some direction, as I've asked the CIT and fire department to revisit the overall concept of a traditional brick-and-mortar EOC as we initially intended. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay.
Councilmember Griffith.
Just one second. Sorry about that. Councilwoman Ashcraft, were you finished? Okay. Yeah, thank you, Mayor. As Councilwoman Ashcraft mentioned too, we received this really nice binder with a lot of wonderful information in it just prior to the meeting without the opportunity to provide us the time necessary to review it. And this is a major proposal to basically start a whole new business within the city. And as a businessman, I have a 9-page proposal on how to start a new business here within the city, and then unfortunately got a lot of information without the opportunity to review it. So I would prefer that we defer the decision on this until we've had better opportunity to digest all the details that are being provided, especially within this binder that we just received. I've had a number of questions that I presented to staff in prior meetings on this issue that have really not been answered unless they happen to be in this book. And so I don't know the answers to those questions, and every minute I think about this further, I have further questions. I'd be more than happy to list off all my questions for you, but I just am not in a position where I would be comfortable making any decision on this tonight.
I certainly could concur with council on that. I don't think there's a complete urgency on this. Am I correct, Mr. Shaparian?
Mayor, and I definitely appreciate the sentiment shared with council. The information we shared with you is the material that's supportive of the findings that the chief and his team summarized. In the interest of expediting the implementation, given the lead time to recruit, to purchase equipment, and our target date really is July 1, but we do have to move on with the billing component. In the interest of full disclosure and giving council the opportunity to have additional dialogue with chief and his team to make sure that you feel comfortable, this is a major undertaking, I realize that, as well as a department. I would request that we defer the item. We have 2 more weeks, 2 meetings left in December. I think if we can bring it back on the 15th for second consideration and additional deliberation, that'd be very helpful for everyone involved. And I'm sure Chief Cerna and his team will be available between now and then for any of the follow-up questions. And we'll make sure the item reflects all the follow-up discussion that you have for the public engagement opportunity. We don't take this endeavor lightly, but we do realize the trade-offs if we're not unable to implement a, Mayor said, a progressive concept, which isn't so new. I realize it's new for Torrance. We've had a third-party ambulance operator, and I was intimately involved with the process going back several years. But I have full confidence in the fire department team. This is dense. There's many moving pieces, and I want to make sure that the council has all the information you need and you're comfortable in your decision in letting us venture into this new arena. So with your concurrence, I would like us to return in 2 weeks. Mayor.
Yeah, 2 weeks, I think, is perfect for us. I mean, probably 1 week would work, but I don't know what our calendar looks like next week. So I'm certain the 2 week is even better for us. So we just have to do a motion to continue this to December 15th. Councilmember Griffiths.
Yeah, I'll make that motion that we defer this item for further discussion until the December 15th meeting, provided council can provide the questions to staff, and staff can get those answers to us more than an hour or two before the December 15th meeting.
Absolutely, Councilman.
Councilwoman Ashcraft.
I'll second that.
Roll call vote. Councilmember Ashcraft?
Yes.
Councilmember Chen?
Yes.
Councilmember Goodrich?
Aye.
Councilmember Griffiths?
Thank you, yes.
Councilmember Kalani?
Yes.
Councilmember Matucci?
Yes.
Mayor Fury?
Yes.
Your Honor, that motion carried unanimously.
All right. That takes us to City Council oral communications. Tonight's council order, Councilmember Griffith goes first.
I just want to reemphasize the support that we as a council, I know, feel for our businesses in our city that are being tremendously impacted by decisions of a very few people, which in my opinion I feel is absolutely wrong, that so few people can have such great power and put businesses and out of business and employees out of jobs at the vote of several politicians. And it really upsets me that we're put in a position that we're told we can't do anything about it. And hopefully the steps that we take with working with the COG and writing letters and doing those things will have an impact. I'm not tremendously hopeful of that. Ironically, since we've discussed that issue, I just read online that Beverly Hills tonight passed a strong objection to what the county supervisors did, and they actually did, in fact, make a statement to go so far as to pursue legal options. And so I'm very anxious to see what happens with Beverly Hills, and would even consider joining in with their effort after I've had an opportunity to read more details of what they're doing. But I'm really upset with what's happening. Obviously, there's so many issues with COVID. We don't want people to get sick. We don't want people to die. But at the same time, what I've been saying for the last 9 months is we need to find the appropriate balance on how to protect our residents and our citizens of our county, as well as help try to protect our businesses and the employees that work for them. And I clearly don't think we've found that balance. And I hope we can try to do something to do that, and hopefully some of the things that we request will make a change in that regard. And with that, I'll let the others have an opportunity to speak. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councilmember Kalani.
Thank you, Mayor. And I'm really looking forward to the feedback that Councilmember Chen gets from the Council for the Council for South Bay COG. Also, I just want to please continue to ask people to support our restaurants and support our small businesses, and as we enter the holiday season, to just have a peaceful holiday season the best we can under the current environment. Thank you.
Councilman Matucci.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to let everybody know that, I will continue fighting for our businesses. I'm a small business owner myself. I'm not going to give up on you guys. And, let's look at what other cities are doing, I guess. And, but everybody individually can fight the system. You don't have to wait for us to not take steps. I'm rather disappointed tonight that we keep on talking about letters, and really what we did tonight is we just did a lot of the same stuff over and over. And I believe that's the definition of insanity. We're looking for different outcomes, but yet we're not showing enough guts to really fight the system. This is a system that we have to fight. We have to do it for our residents, for our businesses. But I just hope that in the future we can really see that as a city we need to do more. We need to do more than just letters. We need to do more than just emails and pats on the back and photo ops. And there's businesses that are shutting down, dying every day around us. Some of them are our friends. Many of them are our friends, people that we used to go to. They're no longer there. We got to fight. We got to fight. Let's have the courage to fight. Not tonight, maybe next week or the following week. But this is not. It doesn't end with COVID-19. What the county, the state, and many times our federal government does is overstepping. They're overstepping. And if we don't fight back at every single turn, we're going to get squashed. Like Councilman Griffith is fighting Sacramento and advocating cities to relinquish and give us back local control when it comes to housing. That's the kind of fight we need to do on everything, not just housing. So I really do ask us to really look deep down inside what we've been doing for the past 8 months and tell me, have we done enough? I think the answer is no, we haven't done enough. I don't want to look back and say we could have done this, we could have done that. But what I'm asking for all of us is to do more than just letters, more than just fluff. These are real people that are losing everything. These are people that signed personal guarantees on their leases. You know what a personal guarantee is? That when your business goes down, you lose your house, you lose any asset that you've ever worked for. That's what it means. How about the landlords that aren't getting paid, can't make the mortgage payments? Have we thought about them? How about all the employees, the delivery trucks, everything? It's not just the restaurant industry, every industry. Let's just do more. Torrance is better than this. And if BizFed voted us most business-friendly, then let's prove it. Let's go above and beyond what every other city is doing. Let's not wait for Beverly Hills or any other city to do what we should be doing to begin with. And by the way, this is a thin blue line flag for a lot of you that called in tonight complaining about it, is to show my support for law enforcement. And I find it disgraceful to some of the comments that were made. Good night, everyone. Thank you.
Councilmember Ashcroft.
Thank you. Happy December. Today being December 1st, we're coming to the close of this year. And hopefully, when we start a new year, it's going to be better. Has to be better because it can't get a whole lot worse. I'd like to thank Supervisors Hahn and Barger for paying attention to our businesses. Thank you very much, Janice and Catherine. What you have done for our businesses is a good example. There's a lot of power in the supervisors' pockets, and we appreciate you thinking about our businesses, right now our restaurants. Thank you. And I'm hoping that when there is a revote that common sense helps and the realization that there is no science that we have seen behind closing outdoor dining. It is very important. So we're looking to you, all the supervisors, for looking into it and doing a revote, and we're behind you. Thank you very much, and we will see you next week.
Councilmember Chen.
Thank you, Mayor. I think I just want to share that on Monday, November 23rd, Mayor Fearon and I represented the city in accepting a 30,000 face mask donation from the Taiwanese American Chamber of Commerce of Greater Los Angeles. And times like this, there are some business community who actually stepped out and made a donation and to help our frontline responders like our PD, fire department, and many of the nursing home facilities in Torrance. I just want to say thank you very much. That's it for me, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilmember Goodrich.
Well, in between agenda items here, I took a quick couple seconds and sent an email to incoming Supervisor Holly Mitchell and basically pleading with her to be the swing vote on her swearing in that would reverse this unfortunate vote last week where, yes, Supervisors Hahn and Barger did vote very well, and pleading with her to be a swing vote to reopen our restaurants for outdoor dining. And let's hope that has an effect. Let's hope that our collective efforts prevail and we're successful in that measure. We're going through some tough times right now, and especially so with the holidays coming up. People are going to feel even more isolated than they already are, especially if they're susceptible in high-risk categories. But I just want people to know that they're not alone. Got a council here that cares about the residents in the city. We're advocating on your behalf. Personally speaking, people can reach out to me anytime, anything that they might need, connection to resources, whatever it may be, just someone to say hi to for a couple minutes to have a personal connection. I think we're all available for that. And we're going to get through this together. Only 30 days to 2021, which is going to bring some better times. I'm looking forward to that. Good night.
Thank you. And as I said when we started the information about the COVID update, I did a lot of things this week. I did a lot of things last week, advocating for our restaurants and our businesses. And that's not doing nothing. It might not be to some people's liking, but that is doing something, and it's doing something constructively. And clearly it worked because our supervisor got it. Maybe some other cities should have been doing it for their supervisor as well, and maybe things would have been a little bit different. But I think the South Bay was well represented by the leadership that was presented to Supervisor Hahn to get her to vote that way, much the same as Antelope Valley put the pressure, so to speak, on Supervisor Barger to vote that way. And hopefully, with some nudging, we'll get a different opinion out of the different structured Board of Supervisors. But that's not doing nothing. That's doing something. That's doing the hard work. That's doing work that's not called for. It's not in the job description. It just comes with common sense and common courtesy. As I mentioned earlier, California has experienced a surge of COVID-19 cases. Anybody want to dispute that? And as part of the largest county in the United States, we are directly affected. The county has asked us to stay home as much as possible and wear face masks when outside. We want to fight against that too. Even when exercising and you're at the beach and the park, wear a face mask. It's cheap. There is anecdotal evidence that says that could make less incidence of COVID-19. Remember, wearing a face mask protects those around you, your family, your friends, coworkers, those who may be susceptible to catching the virus. All public and private gatherings and events with individuals not from the same household are prohibited, except for faith-based services and protests, and that's because they're protected by the First Amendment. Residents are still permitted to travel to and from essential businesses, work, or provide services to a healthcare operation or essential businesses. Residents may also engage in essential activities or participate in permitted individual or household outdoor and indoor activities while practicing required distancing, infection control, and masking. This should be everyone's mantra. Stay in place, maintain your space, and cover your face. Really simple. Stay in place, maintain your space, and cover your face. I get it. We are all cooped up in our homes, and we've been for 9 months now. This is totally difficult. This is not the way things should be. It's stressful. It's frustrating. Our community is strong, and I'm so proud to be a mayor of the city. I'm confident that we'll come out on the other side, but we need the participation of everyone. 75% is good. 80% is better. 90% is better. 100% cooperation with those three things. Mind your place. Cover your face and mind your space. Executive orders are quickly changing as we try to slow the surge to avoid crowding at our hospitals. Our hospitals are overwhelmed. They're getting there. 6 weeks ago, they had single-digit hospitalizations of COVID patients in our hospital. Within a month, it doubled. In the last 2 weeks, it doubled one more time. That's really frightening to me, and that's local hospitals that we have here in our city. Hospitals throughout the county some of them are at the max already. For current information concerning COVID-19, visit torranceca.gov/COVID-19. For daily updates, tune into City Cable or torranceca.gov and watch live COVID-19 Today, Monday through Thursday at 4 p.m., and weekends in Torrance, which airs every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday at 2 p.m. You can watch the back ones on YouTube. Go to City Cable's page on YouTube. Thank you all staying patient with us. We are navigating this pandemic with you and for you. Support our restaurants and small businesses as best you can. Help them weather the storm. Thank you very much for all your cooperation. And we're going to go into a short recess into closed session to finish some action, and then we will return to adjourn this meeting. Okay, we're back from our executive session. And Mr. Shaparian, is there anything to report?
There's nothing to report, Your Honor. Thank you.
Thank you. Then I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Councilmember Chen, thank you for raising your hand.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to adjourn for the adjournment of the City Council meeting to Tuesday, December 8, 2020 at 5:30 p.m. for closed session, with the regular meeting commencing at 7 p.m. in compliance with Governor Newsom's executive order N-2920, which suspended portions of the Brown Act. Members of the City Council and staff will participate in this meeting via teleconference and other electronic means in our continuing effort to practice social distancing to reduce the spread of COVID-19. Members of the public are encouraged to watch the meeting via cable, City Cable, Channel 3, Spectrum, and Channel 31 Frontier, streaming on torranceca.gov, Facebook at City of Torrance CA Government, and YouTube channel Torrance City Cable.
Councilmember Kalani.
Kalani, second.
Roll call vote. Councilmember Ashcraft?
Yes.
Councilmember Chen?
Yes.
Councilmember Goodrich?
Aye.
Councilmember Griffiths?
Oh, I want to stay longer. Yes.
Councilmember Kalani?
Yes.
Councilmember Matucci?
Yes.
Mayor Fury?
Yes.
Your Honor, that motion carried unanimously.
Good night, everyone. We'll see you next week. In the meantime, stay safe. Please stay safe.